Hey, welcome back to Justice for All, where we're talking all about doing what's right when everything is going wrong. I've got a question for you. Is it ever okay to lie? See, that's a question that's been debated by humans for, well, as long as there have been humans, probably. But is it ever okay to lie? This question is easier to debate when it's not personal, right? So let's get a little personal and see what happens. So I'm gonna ask you a few questions, and whether you are watching this alone or with a group of people, I want you to raise your hand if you have ever told a lie to be nice, told a lie to be mean, told a lie to get out of trouble, gone away with something because you lied about it, been accused of lying when you were telling the truth. See, whether you raise your hand or not, let's face it, we're all guilty of lying to cover our tracks sometimes. When we lie and get away with it, we usually feel pretty good about ourselves, or at least we feel relieved. But just because we got away with it doesn't mean what we did was right or just. Have you ever been accused of something that you definitely didn't do? See, when we're accused of something we didn't do, it's really frustrating. Whether it was a major accusation or something small and not at all important, you might feel angry or powerless or afraid or all of the above. See, when you're innocent, false accusations are always going to feel unjust because, well, they are. Last video, we talked about how when we're facing unjust or cruel treatment from other people, it can be hard to keep your head and heart straight. Like, how do you stay positive in tough situations? How do you keep moving forward? How do you set the record straight? And how do you get justice? When we're accused of things we know we didn't do, our integrity is called into question. But what is integrity? If you're a person of integrity, it means you're dependable, unchanging, and trustworthy, no matter the circumstances. You don't fall apart when tough circumstances throw you around. You're not indestructible or anything, but when it comes to your character, it takes a lot to make you crack. You choose what's right and true no matter what you're going through or who's looking. With that in mind, let's head back to the story of Joseph. So far, here's what happened. Joseph's dad, Jacob, caused a ton of issues in his family by playing favor to Joseph. And because of Jacob's favoritism and the fact that Joseph had a tendency to brag, Joseph's brothers hated him. Eventually, their hatred led to them to plot Joseph's murder. But fortunately, they didn't kill him, but they did something that just as hateful. They sold him into slavery. Genesis 39, 1-6 says this. Now Joseph had been taken down to Egypt. Potiphar, an Egyptian who was one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard, bought him from the Ishmaelites, who had taken him there. The Lord was with Joseph so that he prospered, and he lived in the house of his Egyptian master. When his master saw that the Lord was with him and that the Lord gave him success in everything he did, Joseph found favor in his eyes and became his attendant. Potiphar put him in charge of his household, and he entrusted to his care everything he owned. From the time he put him in charge of his household and of all that he owned, the Lord blessed the household of the Egyptian because of Joseph. The blessing of the Lord was on everything Potiphar had, both in the house and in the field. So Potiphar left everything he had in Joseph's care. With Joseph in charge, he did not concern himself with anything except the food he ate. Once in Africa, Joseph was sold again to an Egyptian slave master named Potiphar. But God was with Joseph and helped him find success in everything he did. It seems like the arrogance that Joseph had when he was living as a favorite child had been toned down. Difficulty can shake you out of your arrogance pretty quickly. But while working as a slave, Joseph held on to hope and kept trusting the promise that God once made to him in a dream, that one day Joseph would have a position of power and authority. Potiphar saw the favor Joseph had with God and he wanted it. So he made Joseph the business manager of his entire estate, and it worked. Potiphar's business grew and things were going great for him. Joseph was holding it down until... Now Joseph was well built and handsome, and after a while his master's wife took notice of Joseph and said, "Come to bed with me." But he refused. With me in charge, he told her, "My master does not concern himself with anything in the house. Everything he owns he has entrusted to my care. No one is greater in this house than I am. My master has withheld nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. How then could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God?" And though she spoke to Joseph day after day, he refused to go to bed with her or even be with her. One day he went into the house to attend to his duties, and none of the household servants was inside. She caught him by his cloak and said, "Come to bed with me." But he left his cloak in her hand and ran out of the house. When she saw that he had left his cloak in her hand and had run out of the house, she called her household servants. "Look," she said to them, "this Hebrew has been brought to us to make sport of us. He came in here to sleep with me, but I screamed. And when he heard me scream for help, he left his cloak beside me and ran out of the house." She kept his cloak beside her until his master came home. Then she told him the story. "That Hebrew slave you brought us came to me to make sport of me. But as soon as I screamed for help, he left his cloak beside me and ran out of the house." And when his master heard the story, his wife told him, saying, "This is how your slave treated me." he burned with anger. Joseph's master took him and put him in prison, the place where the king's prisoners were confined. The Bible wants us to know Joseph had some swag. He was so good looking that Potiphar's wife caught feelings for him, and well, you heard what happened. Joseph could have been selfish at this moment and taken advantage of the situation. He could have taken vengeance on his slave master Potiphar by disrespecting him and messing with his wife. But Joseph was a man of God and committed to keeping his integrity, so he refused. Potiphar's wife lost it when Joseph said no. She was so angry, she tore off Joseph's coat and called for the guards. She told her husband that this Hebrew slave, in other words, this dirty, less than human, had tried to rape her. Because her ego was bruised by Joseph's rejection, she lied. Joseph was sentenced to prison without a trial, but while Joseph was there in prison, verse 21 says this, the Lord was with him. He showed him kindness and granted him favor in the eyes of the prison warden. So the warden put Joseph in charge of all those held in the prison, and he was made responsible for that was done there. The warden paid no attention to anything under Joseph's care because the Lord was with Joseph and gave him success in whatever he did. This is what it looks like to be a person of integrity. It doesn't mean you'll never encounter difficulty, but when you do, you'll be able to withstand it, and so will your character. There's a passage in the book of Psalms that captures the kind of integrity that Joseph had, and one that we should seek to develop too. Psalms 1:1-3 says this, blessed is the one who does not walk in step with the wicked, or stand in the way that sinners take, or sit in the company of mockers, but whose delight is the law of the Lord, and who meditates on his law day and night. That person is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever they do prospers. Sounds a lot like Joseph, right? He was accused of something he never did and was even punished for it. But through it all, here's what Joseph did. He held on to his integrity, his character. He trusted God would let truth win in the end, even if it took time. Instead of focusing on the people who hurt him, he focused on building and maintaining a character that honored God. So the next time that you're accused of something you didn't do, remember Joseph's example and hold on to your character, because integrity can withstand injustice.